Welcome to the Unstoppable Freedom Podcast. I'm Jimmy Page. This is the format called Freedom for the Win, the top 3 wins for individual liberty and American values. Each Freedom for the Win segment does 3 things. Number 1, it gives us some good news in an ocean of negativity. Number 2, it helps us celebrate the wins. And number 3, it gives us hope that we can save America from the leftist mob. So here we go. Here are the top freedom wins for the week of April 3rd, 2023. Win number 1. Virginia School District boots 14 sexually explicit books to county libraries. Okay, so what's going on? Well, Spotsylvania County Public Schools in Virginia, by order of Superintendent Mark Taylor, decided to remove 14 sexually explicit books from school libraries. And at the same time, they donated them to the county government's public library system. A detailed complaint filed by a local parent, Jennifer Peterson, outlines excerpts from these 14 novels that include questionable content for a school library. Sexually explicit content in these books included graphic descriptions of molestation, incest, statutory rape, prostitution, graphic sex, and even pedophilia. This is not about banning books. Let me be clear. Let me say that again. This is not about banning books. This is the typical talking point from the Marxists who want to expose our kids to moral filth. But this is about protecting our kids. It's common sense protection of our kids from exposure to pornographic and sexually explicit material. And we used to think that our schools were on our side on this issue, but that's not the case any longer. We should not have to worry that our kids could be exposed to this at their schools, period. And these books are still available at the public libraries and through retail channels. So if parents want to expose their kids to this, they have the right to bring it into their own homes. This is a win for 2 reasons. First, because it reestablishes parental control over their children's education. And second, because it removes sexually explicit material from our schools, giving us one less thing to be worried about. I'd say that's a win. Okay, win number 2. Indiana legislators defend teenagers from transgender medicine. The Indiana State Legislature approved a bill that would defend minors from transgender medical interventions, including puberty blockers, cross-sex hormone therapy, and sex change operations. The bill, which has now been sent to Governor Eric Holcomb, was passed in the State House by an overwhelming vote of 65 to 30. Governor Eric Holcomb has not signaled whether or not he plans to sign the legislation into law, and he was asked about the bill in the middle of March, prompting him to say this: in general, parents not only have a right to their children's health and well-being, they in fact have the responsibility for it. We agree. This is good public policy to protect our children from irreversible, harmful, life-altering procedures. And this is a win because it protects our kids from irreversible harm, both mental, emotional, and physical harm. And you know, studies show that well over 80% of kids who experience gender dysphoria resolve naturally by the end of adolescence. We have a duty to treat this mental illness, not to affirm and amplify it. And it's also a win because there is real momentum to protect kids from transgender ideology, which creates confusion and conflicts with biological truth. Strong protective legislation has been passed in multiple states, from Wyoming to Tennessee to Idaho, Missouri, Kentucky, and more. This is a win. All right, win number 3. Caitlyn Jenner launches Fairness First PAC to keep boys out of women's sports. Okay, well, Caitlyn Jenner has officially launched the Fairness First PAC, a political action committee that will work to oppose allowing biological males to play in girls' and women's sports. Jenner tweeted the announcement on the PAC on Tuesday saying, "Equality is greater than inclusion. From the top of the ballot on down, this is what we will fight for. We will continue all aspects of protecting women in sports and put our parents back in charge of their child's education. Amen." Well, she went on to say, parents' rights are greater than teachers. Equality is greater than inclusion. Education is greater than indoctrination. And I'd like to add to that, excellence is greater than equity. The PAC's goal is to fight the radical gender ideology, put parental rights at the forefront of education, and keep boys out of women's sports. Well, this is a win because Caitlyn Jenner formerly Bruce Jenner of the 1976 Olympic gold medal fame, the greatest athlete in the world at the time. And by the way, and I got to watch him dominate the decathlon back then. This is a win because as a transgender person, she's making a stand to stop indoctrinating kids with radical gender ideology and permanently harm kids. She knows that biological men have a huge advantage over biological women, and she also agrees that kids should not be confused by adults about their gender. We agree, and that's a win. So there you go. Millions of Americans are waking up to the reality that if they want to preserve freedom in America, they have to take a courageous stand. And when we do this, freedom wins. We all win, and we preserve the greatest nation in the world. I'm Jimmy Page, and this is the Unstoppable Freedom Podcast for the win.